Why is the RP accent so hard to learn? There's a few reasons. Number one, it's really difficult because unlike a lot of the Latin, more phonetically pronounced languages, we don't pronounce all the words the way they're written. We don't pronounce the sounds the way they're written. So if you see a word like accent, you'll see the E after the C. There's A, so we don't say, in fact we do say accent, but we don't say the sunt, like scent, accent. It'll be sunt. So you've got the C-E-N-T, but it's not scent, it'll be sunt. So how do you learn these little differences? Or if you're looking at TH words like three or this, how do you know which TH is voiced and which is unvoiced? Three, this. One, you use your vocal folds, the other one you don't. Or if you see words like commence, some people will say like comments. And there's a difference here between comments, as in the comments that you could write in this video letting me know that, this is helping, or that I'm talking a lot of knackers and you don't know what I'm talking about. That would be comments, C-O-M-M-E-N-T-S, comments. But commence is C-O-M-E-N-C-E. And then again, on commence, you don't say the E on the end. You don't say commence. So English isn't written how it sounds. What the? Next thing, no one shows you the exact mouth movements or the coordination between the mouth, the vocal folds, and the breath. Now, there are a lot of people out there. I was just looking just this morning, and I've seen it many times, but I've seen people using the mouth positions and talking about the tongue position. And they might say something like, for your T and D, they might say, put your tongue up. Like that. They just say that, put your tongue up, and they show you really, really fast, and now you're supposed to get it. But they don't tell you to put your tongue up to the gum ridge so that it's touching all the way along the ridge. Like if you do an N sound, then you block the air from going through your nose with your soft palate, and then you let the air pressure build up on the back of the tongue, and then you let the tongue drop like that, and that'll be a T. I mean, some of them I'll see them say things like, it's like this. To do a T, you go t. That's not just a T. That's a T and an sound. T. So, from what I see out there, there's a lot of training of bad habits, inaccuracy, lack of detail, and very little to nothing about coordination with the vocal folds. You're supposed to just get the vocal fold activation to know when to come on and off phonation. Many of you probably won't even know what phonation is. If you're somebody who's trying to change your accent, and there are some people who are very, very serious about this, and those are the people I want to talk to more than anybody else. If you are just hearing about RP and you're just hearing about elocution, pronunciation, and maybe you've just moved here, or maybe you're just talking to people online, you're living abroad, and you're noticing that they seem to sort of glaze over while you're talking, and you get the impression that they're not really listening, or that they don't really understand everything you're saying. Those would be the people at the very fringe of this, who are just starting to become aware. And in fact, even beyond them is people who are completely unaware that their accent is causing people to switch off and stop paying attention. It's multiple things. It's not just accent, it's talking too fast. It's repeating yourself, repeating words. Excuse me. I'm doing this, I wake up in the morning now and I try and do some of these videos. I'm on a bit of a mad one recently, and I'll get more into that in this video. This is going to be a long video. I'm going to be talking about a lot of shenanigans going on in my life, who I am, what I'm going to try and offer you and teach you. There's no such thing as try. As I'm talking, there's so many ideas just going on, but if I try and pick up this mug, I'm going to try to pick up the mug. Oh, I failed because I picked it up. I'm no longer trying. Let me try again. I'm going to pick up the mug, my hand's on the mug, and I'm tightening my grip, and I'm picking it up, and I just picked it up. And in case you're missing what I'm saying, there's no such thing as trying. And I saw this from a Tony Robbins clip, and he was saying this to somebody, try and pick up the chair, and they picked up the chair, and he goes, no, try and pick up the chair. Don't pick up the chair, try to pick up the chair. And they were like, it's this weird linguistic error. And I'm going to talk more about that and Tony Robbins and all the rest of it. So as potentially your coach, your RP coach, your public speaking, your elocution coach, but in particular RP, changing your accent, changing your voice, I'm going to be throwing these little things in all the time, and it's part of my own process to be trimming my language and adjusting the way I talk. I'm not going to try to teach you RP, I'm going to teach you RP. You're going to learn RP if you watch this video. If you keep watching, you're going to learn a lot about RP that you probably had never even thought of before, weren't aware existed. And when I first mention it, it might sound a bit strange or too detailed. I mean, that's another one why people struggle to learn RP, is because there's not enough detail, not even close to enough. And when people start trying, because they're so used to watching a video where somebody just says some words slowly, say this, say that, potato, potato, nice. Now, day, pay, fish fillet, or whatever it is. And you're supposed to like, day, pay, like if you're sitting there watching it, I think of some clients I know, they'd sit there and they'd just do their accent. D, pay, fish fillet. And they think they're doing it. And of course they're not going to have any feedback, any auditory feedback. Their ear can't recognize it yet. Now those are people a little bit further in on the ring. Those people, they probably understand that it is their accent. There's getting stressed and speeding up and repeating words. There's, like I'm doing now, chopping and changing all over the place in terms of topics and threads. But if you keep listening, one thing I can promise you is if you keep listening, I will tie a lot of things together. That's probably some people will have already checked out because they think I'm just rambling on. But something I can teach you and something that I'm going to demonstrate is that if you just listen, if you just stay focused, I'm going to show you quite a lot of this wider scheme of the RP thing, how people learn, how people get into it, and then ultimately I'm going to lay out for you the course of exactly how you can change it. So there's people who don't know they have a problem at all. They're just in meetings talking to people, and they might not even know that people aren't listening to them, that they've checked out, that they've stopped listening, that it was too hard to listen to them and they eventually just gave up. Then there are the people who've started to twig, like, they weren't listening to a word I was saying there. Like, they get to the end of something they were saying and they might get... And I've known people like this. And to be honest, really brutally honest, it's a bit of a wake-up call. The people who have a very strong accent, but not even just an accent thing, but people who in general mumble or aren't very clear or all of these things together and then have an accent on the top, speaking quietly, repeating words and repeating and verbal fillers and kind of mumbling, and it's all these things compounding, and then the worst one, and I'm sorry to say it, but if you're talking to an international market, and especially English-speaking people, because we're so lazy, because our ears are so lazy, because English is the global language. It's been selected. It's the one now. Maybe that will change in a few years. I don't know. But right now, it's the global language, and it's going to be for at least a little bit of time in the foreseeable future. Enough time to start learning this. The most annoying people you can interact with sometimes that I've had in my experience, even when I'm a coach, and I teach people this stuff, and I'm more tolerant of people mumbling, repeating, and having a really strong accent, and I'll say to them, I'm sorry, what was that? Can you say that again? I didn't catch that. And I'm not going to just shine them along and say, okay, yeah. Because I've done that as well. And they get, because they can tell I didn't understand what they were saying. And I'm like, I asked you to repeat 3 times. You just got more and more annoyed and frustrated at me for not understanding this garbled noise that I'm receiving. And sometimes I might be out somewhere and it's music. I'm thinking of one instance in particular. And we were at this house party and it was very, very loud music playing. And this girl, she was talking to me and she was barely opening her mouth. And she had this strong Eastern European accent. And she was talking so quietly. And it's such loud music. And she was literally, her body language and everything was like this. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she goes, she's getting annoyed. And slightly louder, still very, very quiet. And I go, I'm really sorry, what was that? Can you say that one more time? She's like, and I went, right. And I'm just hoping the conversation's just going to move on now. And then she went, and gave me this look like, F you for just like trying to shine me along right now. How disrespectful are you? And it's like, F you! I'm trying, I'm bending over backwards to hear what you're saying. You are mumbling. You have a very strong accent. There's loud music playing. You're not opening your mouth. My ears are over here. Your mouth is over there. In your mind, you know what you're saying, but I am relying on the noises coming out of your mouth. And it is so frustrating being around someone like that. And there are people like that. And those are the people who actually need this the most. Because you have no idea how much you're destroying your relationships with the people around you when you are not conscious. The noise is coming out of your mouth, vibrations are traveling through the air. It's sounding really rude, right? But try and stick with me, right? This could be a very helpful thing for you to understand. If you're reacting right now and you're getting defensive and, no, it's just the lazy English ears, that's fine. But you can't control that. You can't make the English ears work harder. I'm sorry. They just won't. Okay? Some people will, like myself, who teaches this kind of thing. I'll work harder, but even then, people such as yourself will just eventually, because you've got this victim mindset. And it's all about blaming the people outside of you instead of going, hey, what can I change about the use of my instrument, my breath, my voice box, my articulation, to propel vibration through the air to land on this person's eardrums so their brain can receive all that data, process it, and easily distinguish language, easily distinguish expression. And that pipeline I just explained, that is so crucial. That is all this game is. That's all it is. And I always reference it being an instrument. It is just like a musical instrument. If I sit down at the piano and I go like, and just clatter away the keys, and there's no notation, maybe I play some of the notes, maybe a couple of the chords, but the timing's all over, the rhythm's off, I'm hitting extra chords and stuff. Would I expect someone to sit there and go, I really loved your music? No! I'm abusing them. I'm abusing their ears. Like, could you allow that? Could you step into somebody else's shoes, stand there, be me in that situation? And you're trying to get what this woman's saying. You're trying to interact. You're trying to engage. You're allowing leeway. You're asking them to correct. You're even asking them, I'm sorry, can you speak louder? I mean, I've had this even with people who speak English. Americans. I remember one chap, I was in a club, American guy, loud music, and he was, and I'm like, what was that, mate? And I'm like, and it's not just the American accent. He was being quiet, he was not opening his mouth, he's got a lazy articulation. And again, loud music. In his mind, he knows what he's saying, but I'm relying on the noises coming out of his mouth, traveling through the air, going onto my eardrum. And I was like, Can you say it a bit closer to my ear, please, mate? I'm not catching that. Because again, I didn't want to just shine him on. And he got annoyed at me. And honestly, when people get annoyed at you because you refuse to just be like, oh, okay, and ignore them, it's like, seriously? He gets frustrated. He's like, and I'm like, I'm catching most of what you're saying, but you need to open your mouth, I tell him. And he's like, you can't understand what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I can't. You're not speaking clearly. And he was like, and then he's like, gets annoyed and speaks louder, and I can hear it perfectly fine. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm getting everything now, because you're talking louder. Thank you for putting in a little bit of effort. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. Thank you. Because I was sitting here putting in effort. You're getting annoyed that you have to put in a little bit more effort. I'm putting in freaking effort trying to decipher the noises coming out of your mouth. But people, we just stick in our own mindset and blame everything outside of ourselves. And those are the people who are a little bit further in, actually. You're actually further in your journey of getting a hold on this. Harsh, reality check, brutal, coach talk, mean, whatever aspect, approach, angle, attack that I was just doing there, over with now. Maybe there'll be some more of that. And honestly, if you want to be understood, if you want people to understand what you're saying, maybe this is what you need to hear. I'm very much aligned with this value of, with great power comes great responsibility, but it goes both ways. With great responsibility comes great power. When you blame everything outside of yourself, the lazy English ears, the people not understanding you because you think they're just switching off, or you think they're trying to, oh, you're not saying this correctly, or whatever it is you think they're trying to do, when really they're just trying to, not shine you on, not be rude, and actually understand what this human being opposite them is trying to express to them. If you can take responsibility, now you can take the power back and start to change on it and act on it. So the first thing, English isn't pronounced how it's written. Second thing, no one shows you the exact mouth movements, the exact vocal fold activation, the breathing. They may show you some of the mouth movements. They talk you through the phonemes. They give you practice words. They talk slowly, which is also good to practice with, but they don't show you the exact details. It's one of the most complicated, if not the most complicated instrument out there. All the other instruments in the world were made by human beings, and technically this was made by a human being, right? It was made by your mum. But, another way of looking at it is it was made by nature. It's encoded in DNA. It's a product of the earth, of evolution. It's made by God. It's whatever you want to say. It's a different kind of an instrument. And it has 3 parts: breath, resonance, articulation. Two more things that make it really difficult to learn. A lot of the coaches I see, they are, and I'll get back to these rings of people who are unaware, people who are slightly aware but getting annoyed and pissed off and victimhood mindset about it. Then people who start trying to change it and actually work on the accent, but they don't have the precise coordination, the exact details. They're just getting generalities, vagueness. And that must be so frustrating for you to be sitting there, because there are some people so dedicated as they get tighter and tighter on this ring, as they start making some of those changes, learning some phonemes, looking up in the dictionary, and they go, oh, what words do I not feel confident pronouncing? And I'd recommend you do this. Get a little word list in your phone, call it phonemes or words or English or RP accent training, whatever you want to call it, and start putting in words. Every time you're talking, you feel that little itch of, I don't feel confident saying that word, and you try and steer around it or use another word or phrasing or whatever. Think what it is, write it down, or try, and even ask the person, wait, did I say that correctly? And they might be like, yeah, sure, you said it correctly. Okay, cool. But now it sticks in your mind after the conversation. Even if they said you said it right, you write it down. You go to the dictionary. You check the phonemes. You can find out how to do the phonemes. I'll be teaching you the phonemes. You can start coaching with me. You can send me the words. I'll send you a recording of exactly how to do it. Mouth like this, camera like this. Show you exactly how to say it. Phoneme for phoneme. Exactly the transitions. But the more you learn the phonemes, the more you can just go to the dictionary, look up the phonemes, and say it piece by piece. Word, word, word. Oh, there's no r. It's w, d, word, word. Look in the mirror. Word, 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 word. Google how to say word. YouTube video pops up. Word, word. Listen back. Word, word. Look at your mouth. Look at their mouth. Look at your mouth. Look at their mouth. Learn. Those are 3 phonemes. 3 phonemes. Which is actually 3 different mouth positions as well. And there's only about 6 mouth positions. Smiling. Rounded. Tongue tip up. D, t, n, l. Back of the tongue up. K, g, n. That's 4. What are the other 2? Try to remember. What are the other 2? I mean, you could even break it down into just those 4. And there's just little variations on them. Smiling, rounded. I mean, some of the smaller differences would be the smiling vowels, your tongue's pushed forward. E, I, a. You just get lower. E, eel, ill, elephant, alphabet. Rounded, tongue goes towards the back, like you got a big hot potato in the front of your mouth. Highest, oo, o. Food, foot, fought, bot, hot. For the y, like yellow, that's basically the same as the E. It actually is the same place as the E vowel, but you don't need to smile your lips. Y. For the w, these are 2 semi-vowels, by the way. That's just one of the rounded vowels, but you just relax your lips as you w. Then you've got all the tongue tip up. D, n, l, r, s, sh, j. Those are all the tongue tip up. You've got the back of the tongue up. K, g. Oh yeah, the last 2. Last one actually. B, lips together. So that's it. 5 mouth positions. There might be a couple more here and there that I might have missed there. I'm doing it kind of quickly, but seriously, it's not that complicated. And when you look at these videos, and you look at these coaches and these channels, they make it so freaking complicated. Why? I think because they want to sell what they want to sell. They want to sell long-term coaching. I mean, I know some companies, and they'll charge like £2,000 for 10 lessons. And in those 10 lessons, you get the phonemes. It's like 4, 5, 6 mouth positions. Just slightly different variations on them all. 10 hours, £2,000? Are you kidding me? And people get to the end and they still have an accent. Why? Because there's no vocal fold activation timing. Here's when you bring your vocal folds on and off. Here it is. This is all you need to know for vocal fold activation. Vocal folds come off and on. Off or on. Vibration, phonation. When your mouth, it's coordination between voice box and mouth. When your mouth is in the most open shape, just arriving in the most open shape for that voiced sound. Mostly it's vowels, okay? So if I say off, the word off, it's off, off. You hear my vocal folds for the vowel. Oh, I'm in the most open shape. Oh, and that's where I want to come off. So that wave of phonation comes up through my mouth and it goes out in that perfect shape. And it goes through the air and it lands on that person's ear in that perfect shape with no distortion. And they recognize it as oh. comes off. Keep exhaling. Then you go into your F sound. Oh. Oh. What a lot of people do is they'll stay on phonation. Oh. Oh. And they might get stuck at the F, or they get this little this slight change of sound, and that just makes it a little bit harder to understand what that word is. Just a little bit. The brain has to process just a little bit more. And when you do that for every single vowel in a sentence, and there's like 20 or 30 vowels, that person's brain is like, it's like going into hyperdrive, trying to discern all these. There's like somewhere in the midst of all these extra noises and distorted sounds. Distorted. People might say like distorted. Distorted. Instead of distorted. Somewhere in the midst of all those extra sounds, there's some vowels and consonants, and it's like, and bearing in mind, you'll probably be dropping a lot of consonants as well. So it might be like that. Might be like. You hear the difference? Might be like. Might be like. Might be like. It might be like. You don't have to do it slow. You can do it fast if you learn how to do it properly. If you can continue the flow of air. I'm getting on one now, but the more sounds the brain has to trim out, and the more sounds the brain has to add in. If you're missing sounds, it has to add them in. If you're adding extra distorted sounds, it has to trim them out. That takes processing power. It takes a lot of energy and concentration. And when there's noises in the environment, and when you're restarting words and sentences, and if you're like if you're like restarting sentences and adding verbal fillers, the brain, it just gives up. That's what you're encountering with a lot of English people. That's why it seems like English ears are so lazy. They give up after a few minutes, a few seconds, and eventually they just time out and give up. It's good. Like, cheers, bro. House mate. I'm just doing a video, but you can like come in. Okay. That's Jack. Jack, we had our first staff meeting.
Hi.
We had our first staff meeting. See, I said the northern staff. We had our first staff meeting the other day. And that's another thing I want to get onto in this video. Briefly, it's already turning into a long one, so I'm going to try and wrap up a little bit here. But so RP, why is it so difficult to learn? One, it isn't pronounced how it's written. But if you go to the dictionary and you learn to read the phonemes underneath, every phoneme, it has a set mouth position that does not change. A lot of people, when you're looking at these other people on YouTube, some of them, they'll be saying, oh, this is how you have I saw one this morning, an exceptional RP accent. And I was thinking, it's exceptional, not exceptional. And it's accent, not accent. And that's another thing. A lot of these people, they're just coasting on the fact they have a natural sort of RP accent, but they don't really know exactly all the phonemes. There will be errors in some of the things I'm saying. And that's another thing I want to do in these next few months as I'm putting together this RP intensive course, is level up my RP to just levels, Laurence Olivier levels, Ian McKellen levels. Those levels where I was watching a movie, Mutiny on the Bounty, and at the start, Anthony Hopkins walks in and the judge on his case starts speaking. And I was sitting watching this movie and I sat forward, I'm like this. Because I'm thinking, that guy, whoever that actor is, he's talking very quickly. But he's getting every single sound, every single phoneme exactly right. Exactly right in RP. And he's linking it all together in a single breath of air, which is all you need to do. Get every sound, link it all together. That is the easiest and best way to do it. Then when you relax and talk normally, you drop sounds, you skip certain sounds, but if you want to up your RP, you can do because you know what is supposed to be there. And I looked up who that actor was. It was Laurence Olivier. It was the gold standard. There's a statue of him outside the National Theatre on the Thames, on South Bank, holding a dagger, doing his Hamlet speech, or I think he's doing Macbeth actually with the dagger. Is this a dagger I see before me? You can start to pick up this kind of thing. And a lot of the people that you might be watching, the people further in, the people, and this is the one that breaks my heart when I think of those people sitting there, going through these phonemes, watching these videos, and they might be making errors. Because there's no consistent grounding, there's no knowledge of what the phonemes actually are, what the set mouth positions are, the vocal fold activation, the breath, how the sounds are made. I can't talk forever on this video, I need to wrap it up, so I'm seeing other ways I could go into that, but... And then the last thing, right? Number one, it's not pronounced how it's written. Number two, nobody shows you the exact mouth movements, vocal fold activation, breath flow. Number three, a lot of people are pronouncing things that you're watching, these coaches, these people with 500,000 subscribers, and you see the social proof, and that's incredibly motivating. But they're not even pronouncing it exactly right. And they speak in an unnatural way. And they don't know the exact errors they're making because a lot of them don't even know the phonemes. I'm sure many of them do, but a lot of them don't. There's a lady, English like a native, Elan, she does. Check out her channel. And when she talks very slowly. But it's not, I am talking like this. And there's a place for that as well. There is a place for that. That can help. But Elan, English like a native, really nice channel, really lovely tone. She talks through all the phonemes and everything. And when you listen to her, she does have a very good RP accent that is obviously slowed down so you can understand it really well. And she does know her stuff. Loads of great videos there. And the last thing, and this is something. Last night I was watching an interview, Alex Hormozi with Tony Robbins, one of the most amazing interviews I've ever listened to or watched. I haven't even heard that much Tony Robbins, but I've seen clips, and all these different people I follow watch him and have learned from him, and he's the godfather of personal development and all of this. And he was saying to Alex, there's the hard work, there's the drive, the push factor, push motivation. I will do this. I will battle through these drills, these phonemes, this linking stuff. I'm going to do it all. And I'm going to get my drills in, my repetitions, my 100 repetitions a day. And I'm going to say the word over and over and over and over again. Even though I would say doing 10 really good, high quality, slow repetitions where you're feeling everything you're doing is worth 100, if not 1,000, where you're just saying it again and again and again wrong. That's drive, and that's where the people in the very inner circle of this ring of people of awareness of this problem and how to fix it, those are the people I want to help the most, that I think this course will really be for, because you're putting in so much heart and so much energy, and it's not going to get you the results because of this vagueness, because of the lack of detail, because of the lack of awareness, and more than anything else, we're over-indexing on the drive. And this is something that I think a lot of the people who really committed to this, it's like a classic trait you have, where you want to solve the problem by endless repetition, 100xing the work. And that's so good and it's so admirable. And that's how you're killing your progress. Because you're beating yourself up, you're exhausting yourself, you're not getting the results you really want. And ultimately, as Tony Robbins was saying, you want to find the pull drive, the pull. And that is something that I see really, really lacking in this space. Is there's no love for the accent. There's no enjoyment. There's no joy, no pleasure, no awe, no sense of awe for this language. I mean, there's so much we could go into this. It's a language that comes from the stars, actually. It's based on the stars, the Phoenician alphabet. It's based on the zodiacs. It's based on stories of the stars. Every sound you make If you even think about something like L and R, the sounds are the tongue position is changing. It goes from tongue tip touching for the L, with the sound going out the sides, to then the tongue tip going down and the sides touching. It's the opposite, it's the inverse for red shift, blue shift. L and R in the word red, there's a R, and in blue, there's the L. And again, this is going to sound kind of weird and wacky, and I don't want to get too off-piste here, but English is like jazz. It's like jazz music. And if you learn to get every phoneme and link it all together, you get this expression of sound. Like, who didn't watch Lord of the Rings and see, and probably this is the wrong target market, people watching Lord of the Rings and see Ian McKellen, "You shall not pass," and that vowel, pass, and it echoes throughout that whole cavern, that massive space, just like the tongue dropping lowest to the back of your mouth. You have this cave space in the back of your mouth, and it goes boom out the back of your head. And it's one of those sounds that sound so quintessentially RP, and it hits you. The army, the art, pass, castle. There's no love for the accent. There's no love for the sounds, the musicality, the jazz of it. And that is what makes it so admirable. Because everybody wants to try and get it to sound clear, to blend in with the native culture, to gain authority, to be seen as elegant, eloquent, to be seen as culturally dexterous, cosmopolitan, a man of the world, woman of the world, James freaking Bond, somebody you can go into any environment, adapt, has such mastery of their voice, they can change their accent. And it's not, you don't lose your accent. You keep your accent. Just like if I was learning a saxophone, I learn blues, and everything sounds really bluesy. When I go to the jazz club, when I go from France, I learn French. When I go to England, and I'm speaking English, or Indian to English, or Filipino to English, or Chinese to English, that's like classical to jazz, rock and roll to jazz, folk to jazz. When that musician, same instrument, same saxophone, it's very much like a saxophone, but like tipped upside down. You got the breath coming up, the squeezy bits here that create the vibration, and the mouthpiece, and we've got this extra piece in our voices that a saxophone doesn't have. You might have the muffler thing, but your mouth squeezes, shapes, and trips the sounds as they go out. It's unbelievable, this thing. And I do think of it like you are like a wizard casting spells. And every sound you use has an effect on the person you're talking to. That is what you want to focus on. Not just fitting in. Not just doing the drills so that people can't tell your accent, and so that and this is one of the most annoying things for people when they're asked, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, I can hear your accent. I'm trying to do it." And it's like, they want to be completely native. And it's not like you lose the accent, it's just you learn to play a different type of music. When those blues, rock and roll, classical musicians go to the jazz club, jazz players are sitting there going, "I can hear that they're bluesy. I can hear the bluesy quality in their music. It's not jazz, they haven't got jazz yet." That jazz musician goes away and practices his jazz, or her jazz, and learns all the bits and pieces, all the changes in the finger movements, the breathing, the melodies, the rhythms, the placement, the resonance. And they master their instrument because they're committed to mastering their instrument and being able to shred the shit out of that instrument, to play that music, to create that feeling, that frequency of sound that can have people sitting there in the club like my granddad. He would love jazz. English is jazz. Shakespeare is jazz. all over the freaking shop. It's this crazy, crazy mix of all these different languages, Germanic, Latin, even some Celtic influences. I'm saying that, I'm not really sure about the Celtic influences. Viking, the TH sound. It was like the symbol for lightning. And that's what I mean. If you go back far enough, it all goes back to astrology, astrologos, the stars, the language of the stars. Because that's the one universal global language, because it's the same above everybody. Same heavens. And that's where all the sounds are based from and have filtered down through the different cultures into these vibrations you're hearing. That jazz musician can learn jazz. That blues musician or whatever can learn to play jazz and absolutely shred. And eventually, a few months, a few years, even the aficionados, even the master jazz musicians will be sitting there and going, God damn, that guy is playing the heck out of that saxophone. That is jazz. That's what we want to get to. And that all of that is missing because people are just stuck on rat, bat, cat. Yes, that is the at vowel. And that sounds condescending, but I love doing that kind of stuff. I love working on that with clients. The first 3 to 5 lessons, we're going through all the phonemes. In 5 hours, you can learn every single phoneme and the linking and start practicing at home. 5 hours. In 1 month. 4 lessons. 1 week. A week. You get a script, you work on it. You do your vocal warm-ups. You're getting to grips with your breath, your voice box, your articulation. You're learning the phonemes. You're learning the timing and the coordination between the 3 because you're doing your warm-ups and you're building your mind-muscle connection. And you're beginning to dissociate and transcend from that singular vocal identity of being French, of being Spanish, of being German. You're transcending, you're ending the trance, transcend. Trance, end. End the trance. You're in a trance. I'm French, I'm German, I'm Spanish, I'm this, I'm that. That's where you're from, that's not who you are. You have that accent, that's an accent you have. That's a series of mouth movements, breath control, and vocal fold activation that you use that creates that frequency of sound we recognize as a French accent, a Chinese accent, a whatever accent. But that's not who you are. You can learn a different sequence. Muscle memory, neuron pathways in the brain. We need to fall in love with the process. More than anything else. And that is the hardest thing. That is what I want to give you. That's going to be my gift to the internet these next few months. Is to fall in love with this process. Because there's so many other places I want to take Speech Smithy. That's my voice coaching business. Speech Smithy. The Speechsmith's Forge. The place you go to mold and sharpen and hone those neuron pathways and gain access and ability in your instrument to communicate so that you can speak and be understood the way you want to be understood. And the thing about accents, what people aren't understanding because the accents are in the way, what they're not receiving is your eloquence, is your capability, your intelligence. Why? Because they have all these codes in the brain. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. But people have codes and formats in the brain where certain accents sound uneloquent. They're not, shouldn't be. That's just a word, that's just a label, it's just a name we're putting on it. But there are some accents that have a very hard time getting by in relationships, in business. I saw some comments the other day. I was looking at a video and people were talking about the Indian accent. Comments in this video. And they were saying that some of their businesses in India really, really struggle because when they're trying to speak to people in the US and the UK and other parts of the global market, people just think they're scam callers because of their accent. It's so shallow. But that's what it is. And it sucks. It really does suck for those people. But we can't fall into the trap of going, I'm going to plow through so I can charge those UK rates, those US rates, those global market rates, and be seen as elite, and be seen as the top authority in my field, and I'm going to drill and work and hard and the push is good. But what are you being called towards? You're being called towards a mastery of your instrument. If you learn this, if you can do this really, really well and change your voice authentically, create those neuron pathways in the brain where you can speak in a perfect RP accent. And people recognize that and they see the eloquence and they see your ability and all your intelligence and everything else. That's just the first domino, is the RP accent. What about public speaking? What about emphasis? What about vocal modulation? What about connection to what you're saying? What about having a singular message, an intention, focusing your mind, generating an image, a form, a thought form around that intention, and then disseminating that, communicating that. Communicate means to share. Commune means to share, to give out, to take what's inside you and put it out. And the accent is one of the things that's distorting it, as well as verbal fillers, as well as not having improvisational ability, as well as bad body language, as well as lack of facial expressions, as well as lack of tone, as well as character, personality, a clear magnification of values that can be amplified through your communication, as well. A calibration to the environment, acknowledgement of the context of the situation, the relationships that you have to the people and how you're going to change what you're saying, the language of what you're saying, the tone, the delivery to communicate to that person, as well as all that. Accent's the first domino. It's just the beginning. But we can go so deep on that. And once you get that, accent, RP, gone. Next, emphasis. Hitting the full stops, leading into verbs, hitting the key words, contrast in what you're saying, modulation, improvisation, orchestration of your ideas. You're going to become a assassin, a speech smith. That is what you will become. You'll become capable of smithing, of fashioning your communication, honing your instrument so you can use it, so you can communicate, you can generate the sounds, the movements you want that express exactly what's going on inside you to other people, and they get it. And you can get past all the filtering, all the mechanisms, all the processing, the programming, the codes, the templates, the labels, and all the stuff in people's minds and eardrums and the room and the situations. You can get through all of that and land your message. That is speech smithing. Welcome to Speech Smithing.